Here's the difference between a gym owner doing 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month, and a gym owner doing 80, 100 grand a month. And it's not just more members. Yes, that's important, but it's not actually what's going to make that happen. It's the systems inside of your gym. Now, by the time of recording this video, I've worked with over 700 gyms. I myself personally built 8 locations to over 4 million a year, multiple 8 figures in total revenue from start to selling. But what I noticed is the gyms that are doing $500,000 a year, gyms that are doing $1 million a year or more, gyms that are taking home 6 figures and multiple 6 figures plus in profit, is that these 5 systems show up in every single one of them. And frankly, if you're missing just one of these systems, you're gonna feel stuck inside of your gym. You're gonna end up working 60-hour weeks, you're gonna be chasing all sorts of leads, and you're gonna feel like you're barely paying yourself at the end of that month for all of the work that's going in. And frankly, it may not actually just be a feeling, it may be the actual reality is that you are not paying yourself enough at the end of that month. So inside of this video, I'm gonna walk you through those 5 systems, and I'm also gonna show you like real examples from gyms that we've scaled to help you figure out which one is your bottleneck. So if you want your gym to run more like a business, not like the circus that you're currently dealing with, then stay with me, because once you understand the framework that I'll be covering today, scaling becomes simple. So here's what we're gonna do. First, I'm gonna break down the acquisition system, and this is frankly how gyms that are doing 50, 60, 80, 100K per month keep a constant flow of qualified leads without running gimmicks or random challenges, or that they're just gonna be able to grow organically with momentum. Second, you will then see the sales system. This is what actually turns those leads into high paying, high LTV members consistently. Third, I'll walk you through the fulfillment system, and this is how elite gyms deliver a world-class member experience that keeps people for 2 to 3 years, not 2 to 3 months, so that you don't just have a churn factory in your business. Fourth, I'll cover the retention systems. And frankly, a lot of just gym owners completely ignore this. This is almost like a hidden revenue engine inside of your business, and every struggling gym owner has an issue here. And finally, I'll talk about the operation systems that you need, which is going to be the structure that lets the owner stop working 60, 70-hour weeks and actually build a team that performs and runs the business for them. So at times they almost feel useless. All right, so the first system that I'm going to cover is your acquisition system. Every single gym that is doing 6 figures and multiple 6 figures in profit a year has predictable daily and weekly lead flow, not like seasonal spikes or inconsistent bursts. It is nearly mathematical on how much it costs to get their new client, how many new clients they're going to be getting on a weekly, monthly basis. And it's something that they can actually turn up if they need more, turn down if they're good. Because without consistent top of funnel volume inside of your gym, sales and retention will suffer. Most gyms rely on hope marketing, or they hope that like you just will be able to get new clients coming in from referrals. But if you're not adding new clients consistently, eventually even your referrals are going to drop off. They will dry up. So what we need to have is some sort of weekly organic content plan. Now, this isn't the basis for our predictable acquisition system, but as gyms come into 2026, if you are not doing organic properly, then you're absolutely going to get smoked. Getting new clients is going to be harder and harder, especially as like people just trust gyms less. In order to do this, just focus on creating content that positions you as an authority. It shows proof of your clients' results and what they can expect through the other clients that you've worked with, and also by giving value. So this would just be like, why are you the experts? How are you going to help people get to the results faster? Yes, I also want to make sure that I am getting referrals that come through, but honestly, what I really want to be focusing on, like every single successful gym outside of the one that just got lucky, which isn't going to be your case, has paid ads in place. If you are trying to scale your gym without using paid ads, you are just playing a much harder game. It's why people like me could go into markets where gyms were already established and absolutely take over, because I was able to get attention faster than anybody else. So when you actually have a paid lead gen system in place, you're able to get in front of your ideal client faster than anything else. Then when they come in, they see your organic content, they realize it's the place for them. Number 2, you got to have a sales system in place. It doesn't matter if you're generating these leads, honestly, whether they're organic, whether they're referrals, whether they're from paid ads, whether they're coming in from like partners that you have, referral partners and everything inside of your marketing that you have, if you don't actually know how to sell them, they have to enroll into your gym for you to actually grow. Now, a mistake that most gym owners make is they try and sell just memberships. Hey, this is how many classes a week you're going to get. This is how many sessions you're going to get, instead of the outcomes your ideal client's going to get by joining your gym. Your sales process is going to determine also your LTV, so lifetime value of your clients, not just the revenue that you're going to be getting on the front end. Big mistake that a lot of gyms that focus on transformations and challenges courses, which by the way, I've sold thousands of them. And a lot of times they get a bad rap is because of the actual sales process in place. You're selling something that's just short term. You're not actually then selling them into the long term, which does happen on the initial enrollment meeting, by the way. So when clients come to us, we want them to be able to convert 70 to 75% of the people walking through the door. Now, this is really important since obviously we want to have paid ads as a primary way to get new leads. I'm going to be bringing in people that do not know we exist. If somebody is coming in off of a referral, if somebody is like been driving by, walking through and all that stuff, they're right there, like they're actively searching, by the way, for a solution, they are going to be easy to sell as long as you don't screw it up. But if you want to actually scale a business that's going to be doing $1 million a year in revenue, you have to learn how to convert cold prospects into paying clients as fast as possible. And you need to do that where you're closing 70, 75% of the people walking through your door. A lot of gyms struggle because once they start bringing in paid traffic, or frankly, anybody that's not a freaking friend, family, or referral, they start closing at 30%, 20%. This is honestly like biggest problem with so many franchise boutique gyms is they close at 20% of the people walking through their door. Can't scale business that way. What we did at scale inside of my gyms across my 8 locations, we had 70, 75% close rates every single month at all locations. Even though looking back at it, my salespeople weren't the best at sales. It's because the systems that we built that I'm going to be covering today that just acted as a flywheel that when people walked in, even if they were strangers, they were paying, and we charged higher ticket on the front end too. In order for you to be able to sell 70, 75% of the people that are walking through your gym, even if they're cold, as well as getting them to then stay for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months and beyond, what we want to do is number one, we want to use a consultative based sales approach. Inside of the sales approach, even like I personally, inside of my gyms, I did not sell by having people do like trial workouts or anything like that or sessions. We have clients inside of the academy that do that as part of it, but they still use a consultative approach. We also then have people that sell purely through consultation. So the person, like the prospect, never actually tries a workout before ever enrolling. It is my preferred way to sell. It's not the only way to sell inside of a gym, but you do have to have a consultative approach. The way that we do that is what we call the no selling sales system. I'm focusing on helping people, not selling them. It's almost like there's 2 different continuums. They're like here, they're terrified of sales. They absolutely suck at sales. They don't use any sort of like structured sales process. And as a result, they close like 20% of the people. Or on the other end, they are savages at sales. They don't mind handling objections and everything like that. And a lot of times they can sell people that honestly shouldn't have been sold, or the way that they are selling is increasing the churn, by the way. Where we want to be is like, we want to focus on, hey, our client's coming in, they have a problem. We're going to help them get to their goals. We're going to show them a super simple, fast path in order to get there. And we're going to do that by focusing on helping them, not selling them. So by the end, it's an easy close. And then when we get into the close, we're going to give a really simple offer stack that has, frankly, our core service, all the additional coaching that we're going to give, all the additional accountability that we're going to give, so they can actually see how they're going to get to the outcome in which we're promising them. By focusing on this type of sales process, we've been able to double members' close rates inside of 30 days, doubling the amount of signups they're getting, not from even changing the amount of traffic they're getting, just how they're actually selling. And again, when you sell properly, you get better long-term clients as well. So again, stop trying to convince people, stop trying to sell people, start diagnosing their problems and simply presenting the solutions, which just so happens to be your program. Now, even if you know how to sell well, you're going to be dead in the water if you don't have this third system inside of your gym, which is going to be your fulfillment system. Now, gyms that are profiting a ton, that are doing multiple 6 figures in profit a year, they know how to deliver results consistently, not randomly. In fact, this was probably one of the first systems that I developed inside of my gym before I really even realized what gyms were or systems were. I read the book E-Myth, highly recommend it to you. Honestly, when I opened up my gym, my desire was not to actually ever open up 8 locations. It was not to then eventually franchise, have 20 locations inside of my brand. But because I read that book, I realized, hey, whether I want to have 1 or I want to have 1,000, I need to set up something that is going to be scalable and repeatable without me. So the first system that I systemized, because I frankly was an amazing trainer, was how to actually fulfill. And that looked like, number 1, my programming, that was systemized. So it didn't matter who was coming in, how they were coming in, that was systemized. When I was doing small groups on my private training in the very beginning, we had a structure like, here was phase 1, here was phase 2, like here was our structural balance onboarding, like this is how we, brought on new clients. When I was then doing my large group bootcamp model, every single workout, every single day across every single location did the same exact program. And we had our model for programming. We called it the Legion way. But the program was then delivered consistently so that we could guarantee the results that our clients were getting. We then standardized our onboarding. How were new clients being brought in? That is absolutely critical. I look at retention and conversion being different windows, and I'm going to talk about retention in a second, but I need to make sure I'm properly onboarding new clients. If you're not onboarding new clients properly, whether you have a large group model or small group model, I guarantee you that you are either costing yourself referrals or you're causing yourself to have some churn issues. On top of that, depending on the type of model inside of your fulfillment system, you want to have standardized goal tracking as well as some level of accountability touch points built into your model. When you have a training-based gym, you have a higher level of service business. I want to make sure that I'm delivering on the results in which I'm promising people that I can guarantee, so that eventually long-term, my results can speak for themselves. That was one of the reasons that my gyms were able to dominate my local markets, not just because I'm amazing at marketing, not just because we were able to sell, but because our clients got phenomenal results that everybody noticed and they couldn't stop talking about. So a big mistake is you should not have your coaches improvising workouts. It's not about your coaches or your trainers or anything like that. It is your system. It is your model that you use in your gym, whether you have one location or multiple locations. And frankly, when I look at gyms that are struggling, a lot of times it comes down to your product, which is how you fulfill your service. The fourth system that you need to have in place is going to be your retention system. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about getting new members, it's about keeping members. Wouldn't you love to wake up on the first of the month and go, hey, I know that we're doing 60 grand this month, 80 grand this month, even if I don't sign up another client? You want to make sure that your monthly attrition is under 5% a month. And frankly, if you have under 100 clients, it should be even lower than that. I should know every single person by name. But there's nothing that increases profit more than anything else than retention inside of my business. Not more ads, not more sales, not even pricing, but retention. Because if you literally added just 10 people a month and you had a small group model, let's say, or semi-private model, and they're each paying you $400 or $500 a month, and you just didn't lose clients and they're paying $400 a month, in a year, you would have 120 clients. You would be doing 50,000, close to 50,000 a month just from that if you didn't lose a single person. And then obviously you're not losing people to referrals, all that good stuff. So how can I make sure that I have retention? Number one, I need to make sure that I'm celebrating milestones over the first 30, 60, 90 days. And frankly, retention is more about experience. So think about like how Disney approaches things. How do I make people feel as opposed to like the customer service and everything that we do? But I want to make sure that my people have an amazing experience over the first 30, 60, 90 days. Inside of that, it's like really big, like milestone. A lot of times it's like specific outcomes is what I like to celebrate inside of that. Beyond there, that's when I start kind of going towards like more maybe session-based, time-based recognition. Whereas like in the very beginning, it's like specific like outcomes, maybe weight loss or something like that. But I always want to have milestone celebrations all of the time. I want to make sure that I have a killer community, because community is what's going to really build that retention over the long term. So you can do community events, charity kind of workouts. We would even do galas, stuff like that. So like we would rent out a boat at the end of the year, have a huge ass party. So this was obviously my gyms were in Philly. So when I say boat, like there was this boat restaurant that was pretty sick. And then we would then go, we'd have all of our clients come to, their friends, their spouses, you know, their family and stuff like that. We'd do a gala, dress up. We would have a silent auction. We would then have a non-silent auction as well, which got pretty rowdy, but it was absolute blast. For like, think about the euphoria it puts in your members, but also like my competition can't do that. So I have some level of community. Now, like you could be hosting High Rocks events. You could be hosting CrossFit events. We would also do what we call the Legion Games. You can do stuff like that. You can just do freaking barbecues. And like I was talking to a buddy of mine that runs a jiu-jitsu gym. He used to actually be an employee of mine, used to work for us in the academy. Then he went and opened up his own gym. He's like, hell yeah, let me just go do this. And they hosted a happy hour the other night. Like those are kind of community events that make the community like bigger than just like coming to a session. But ultimately, like your retention, if you're assuming that people are leaving because of money, honestly, it's just because they don't get the value for what they're paying you anymore. A big mistake is that people take their long-term members for granted. Something I would always tell my coaches inside of my gym is just because like you've had this person for a year or 18 months or whatever, they're still paying you a certain amount of dollars when they no longer feel pushed in their sessions, when they no longer feel as if they're being held accountable, when they no longer see like the business is constantly striving and going to the next level or trying to create something that's like bigger than them that they want to be a part of. Eventually they're going to say, hey, am I actually paying, getting what I'm paying? Like if they come in and you take a look and your coaches are on their phone, they're playing with the music more, they're not actually giving any sort of instruction or value, yeah, you're going to have some churn issues. If there's nothing happening outside of that and a gym is just up the street is doing an absolutely amazing job of like building up this like fire, this environment that people want to be to, like, yeah, it's going to hurt you. Now, if I want to be able to really scale my business and I want to take it to the next level, it's not just being able to get clients, not just being able to keep clients, even though that's absolutely like key. We got to be able to do these things without you being the actual bottleneck, without you being the one that has to do all of that. So the final system that I'm going to cover that frees the owner from actually being the bottleneck is the operating system. We call this GOS, Gym Operating System. But if you want to have $1 million gym, then you need to make sure that you actually have your operating system in place. Now, without systems, you just can't scale. Without systems, you're not going to be able to free up your time. Long term, what you really want is you want, like, let's say you're on vacation, you just want to have a series of numbers that you can take a look at, and you can take a look at the data and you can go, hey, my business is on track or if it's off track. And then those key numbers also would tell you what is actually broken inside of the business. In gym operating system, like you would actually exactly have that. But what I do want, but what kind of like makes that up so they can get to that point and what needs to be happening all the time is like you need to have a weekly meeting structure with your team. If you're not able to do that with your team because it's a bunch of part-timers and everything like that, well, there you go. We got to change the way that actually we do team. But you have to have a weekly team meeting. We have to make sure that we have our scorecards in place. Every single team member should have their own scorecard, and all these scorecards should then match up into the KPIs that you track on a weekly basis for the entire business. So every single team member should have their own KPIs. The businesses then have their own KPIs as well. Every single staff member should have clarity on what their actual role is, on what they should be doing, what's the outcome of that actual role, what success inside of that role looks like. And in order for them to get success in that role, we need to then have our SOPs, our standard operating procedures in place so that they can know and understand how to actually operate this business. Now, interestingly enough, like my SOPs, depending on where you are in business, like you want to be careful not to build them yet, especially if they're not designed for like fast scale or the scale in which you can get to. So I've seen a mistake that a lot of gym owners make. So they try and make the perfect SOPs, they try and have the perfect systems, and yet they don't actually have lead gen systems in place. Yet they don't have sales systems in place. So once we actually would put that, we're now next thing I know, they're adding 10, 15, 20 members a week, even 5 members a week for like small group. It would break everything because now they got to redo everything because they're like, oh shit, I'm actually adding all these new people. I need to figure out like, how do I actually onboard them? How do we actually sell? How do we do all that stuff? So SOPs we want to have in mind. There's certain SOPs that we want to have in place, but don't try and like build the perfect system when you don't even have a business that's worth like truly scaling transparently. But I do want to understand like what my goals are, what my vision is, who is my ideal client, and then what are the KPIs, what are the scorecards in order to actually get there? Because I should not be guessing whether I'm going to hit success. As long as I take the daily actions that lead to the weekly results, I'm going to make sure that I actually hit my monthly targets. And my operating system allows me to be on track of that. So let's recap. If you want to build a gym that does 60, 80, 100 grand on a monthly basis, then the 5 systems you need to have inside of it is you need to have a lead generation system, you need to have a sales system in place, you need to have a fulfillment system in place, you need to have a retention system in place, and you need to have an operating system in place to remove you, the owner, as the bottleneck as you go to scale. So if this video was helpful, comment below, subscribe, check out more videos on how you can build a profitable gym. And as you can see, I got my little Dobie here, Thor, who's trying to go out. But if you want help building the systems inside of your gym so that you can scale faster, so that you can stop being stuck in the day-to-day, we help gym owners implement all 5 of these systems inside of their business. And if you want to see exactly how that will work, I put a link inside of the description where you can go ahead and apply and hop on with one of my team members so that we can see how we can scale your gym. Till the next video, peace.